This is Dave with DRH Acrylic Creations. Today we're doing part 3, cell activators. This is where the magic happens. Okay, I'm back for the cell activators. You're going to need several things for your cell activator. And I'm going to explain what all of the components are. My biggest thing is I used a lot of titanium white. So I buy my titanium white in the 1 liter buckets. So it won't fit on my table. So I wanted you to see that. And I'll show you how much I put into each one of these. The second one here I have this is bone black. And carbon black also is one of the preferred. Bone black, and this is Amsterdam. Now I will tell you, if you're new to blooming, you probably should, and for the reason I pulled these up, just stick with the titanium white or the bone black or the carbon black to start with, because there's a consistency with the Amsterdam paints that can't be explained. These are opaque, they are consistent. You can get a decent feel for what the CA should be, the cell activator should look like. Last part of this cell activator is a good shake. This is the Australian Flow Draw. The Australian Flow Draw is known as the secret sauce, and there is unlike with what we get in America or what they get in Canada or anywhere else in the country or in the world, the Australian Flow Draw has something in it. I have yet to have anybody explain what it is that is super responsive. The cells just automatically open up. Again, Jody Flynn has a recipe using the American Flow Draw, which works for her. And I've had other people that have talked about that recipe and swear by it. I haven't tried it yet, so I can't speak to that. But this is what I use. So I'm going to start out by doing the black first, because it's in my hand. I'm going to put down about the same amount of paint that I put down for the pigment paints. And I'm going to put down 3 to 1. I'm going to eyeball this because unlike with the pouring medium, the cell activator, you really have to pay attention to how it feels. Now the black is going to feel different than the white. Can't explain that, but it does. So this is experiential. You'll learn it as you go along. So I've shaken my, always shake your Flow Draw, because it does settle to the bottom. And let me see what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to start with what I think is about half of what I need. So it just basically covers the top of the paint. Now that might be just a little bit too much, actually. So I'm looking for my spoon. There we are. Okay, incorporate all that paint in. And it takes a little bit of time here to get this to break down and fill up. So what happens if my paint is too thin? Well, if your cell activator is too thin, you can easily add a little bit more paint. Nothing is ever to the point where you can't fix it. Now, for my purpose, I'm not sure yet. It takes a little bit of that when you're working with the Flow Draw. It takes a little bit more time for the paint to dissolve, to break into, to incorporate it with the Flow Draw. I'm still feeling chunks there, and first blush is telling me I need to put a little bit more paint in here. There's a consistency I'm looking for. It's not like the two paints or the color layer. This is going to be thinner, and because it mixes with the Flow Draw, which is thicker weight-wise, it sinks. That's how we get this. That's how we get the cells. The cells are created by the cell activator sinking to the bottom of sinking past the top layers of paint. Okay, that's a little too thin for me. I'm going to add just a little bit more paint. Just like a quarter of what I added the first time. Now I have, this right now is about a 3-to-1 ratio. Really liberal with that 3-to-1 label, but it's a feel thing, and I wish it could be more helpful that way, but this is, like I said, it's a, you know you got it right when you eventually you'll start to feel what it needs to be. And the consistency of the paint is starting to look better. And it's interesting enough, it incorporated much faster this time around. Oops, always happens. Okay, I don't know if you can see that. And it comes right off, and there's a little bit of a trace, and then it just sinks away. And that's what you want. So the black and the white are two different things, besides being two different colors. It's something about the white and something about the black. The black has a different consistency than the white. Sounds like I'm being redundant, but it really does. So, pulling up my usually keep a spoon in here, and it seems to have disappeared. Now with the white, strange things, it's about the same amount as I had before when I started the black. I would go as far as to say it is the same amount. It looks that way. That's the only difference when you're working with the tube paint. You can feel how much you put in. When you're working with when you have to take it out of a tub, it's a little harder to measure. So here we go. There we go. I'm going to put about the same amount of Floetrol in. So you can see that as it goes in. Right about there. I'm not going to put as much as I did with the other one, and because I can easily add after the fact. So here we go. And again, you can see how it's really still very much chunky in there. It takes a little time to incorporate that. I do a lot of cooking, so I equate pretty much everything to how I do when I'm cooking. So this, you can feel in cooking when you've incorporated, you can see when you've incorporated, and this has not. Okay. Sorry if I get quiet here, I'm looking. I can already tell. So in this case, when I say a 3-to-1 ratio, or as some go as high as 4-to-1, it's really a matter of the consistency they're looking for. It's not necessarily a strict measure. I'm gonna just put a little bit more paint in here. As you can see, you get messy very quickly when you're mixing paint. For you veterans out there, you know what I'm talking about. It's part of the fun. Now I should tell you that I've been doing this, been working with the Sheleeartstyle for about, well, I took the course about a year ago. And when I was in Mexico, it was really difficult to get several of the key components. And although I tried to find things, it wasn't until I moved to Texas that I was able to get all the things that I needed. I had things there that worked, but I wasn't getting wasn't getting the results I was happy with. But I think we've got the not quite yet. But I took the Sheleeart course, and she talks a lot about consistencies, because that really truly is what the style is all about. It's understanding how things look and feel. Excuse me, as I move around the room. I'm trying to get my hands cleaned up a little bit. Ooh, look at that. Okay. Big old hands in the way, so you can't see what I'm doing. Now I've been finding my white has been getting pretty stubborn. It's gotten more difficult to judge. Now, if you, I mean, it is possible with the pigments to turn them into cell activators. I certainly give that up to the more advanced among us. I mean, Lisa Marvin Art has a recipe that she has done with pigments that work. I mean, and I've used it with different colors. It is possible, but it's you know, I wouldn't venture into it until you got a real good idea of the consistency, and that's still too thin. So I'm right now into almost twice as much paint as I put in there originally. So I guess the lesson there is it's never a loss if you get there and it's just too thin. Don't stop messing with it. I would like to have had it happen the first time I started, but you know, quite honestly, this is a better lesson of what it is to put together your paints. And I don't mean to make it look easy, which, you know, for me is a little bit more difficult, but I mean for the outstanding bloomers we have in the Sheleeart, that's it. There we go. Let me see if you can see the difference. So there you go. It's thin, but it's got a nice stream off the spoon. It's leaving a little mound but disappearing immediately. So let me see how it compares to the black. The black is a little easier to see what it's doing for me, and it actually pours a lot easier off get a nice string off the end of that spoon. So I'd say this is closer than this is, but they're both within range. So that is cell activators. Now, one thing I haven't talked about so far is pillow paints. Pillow paints, I use right now, my current paint, my go-to is the Glidden Essentials in Eggshell. And I'll show a picture of that up here in a second. The Glidden Essentials is a low sheen paint. Eggshell, it's not flat. Flat you'll find really isn't what you're looking for, but you want some sheen, but not a lot. So it's a low sheen paint. The lower the sheen without being flat that you get, the less you're going to have. You get a little bit of sheen without bubbles that you get with semi-gloss and gloss, or even some people have with the satins. But the satins and the eggshells usually what I go for. And I've landed on the Glidden Essentials. I've used Glidden Premier in the past. It works extremely well. But since I started using the Glidden Essentials and Eggshell, I've been really very happy with how my cells form and how well it flows across the paint. So if you're fairly new, when you add your paint layers, and I'll break this down for you in another video, as you lay your paint, your pillow paint down, and then your color layer, and then your cell activator. The cell activator is what creates the cells, but the color layers sit on top of that pillow paint, and it needs to be able to move. So as you spin off, or as you tilt off and stretch, it needs to be able to move with the pillow. So it's important. The pillow makes a big difference. It's at least what I've found. So I'm hoping this has been useful for you. If you did find it useful, I'd invite you to give it a like. Smash the subscription button, subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And lastly, ring the bell so you get future notifications of videos that I will be putting out. It's my goal to put out 3 per week, and I've lately been able to keep up with that. I will warn you that I am getting ready to move once again, moving up to the Pacific Northwest. I get to find new paints. I'm excited about that. So I'm going to cooler climes, more damp climes, so I'm sure a lot of the things that have worked here will have to change up when I get there. And that's okay, because that's what it's all about. So thank you very much for being here, and I hope you have a great day. Bye now.